Hi, welcome back to our series Buddhism 101. Today we will be discussing the concept of morality in a Buddhist context. Morality in Buddhism, as with generosity, as with all of the different concepts we'll be studying, has always a lot more to do with the effect that it has on one's own person than on other people. So we're not concerned so much with the result of our actions on other people as we are concerned with the result of our actions on our own mind. We're also not concerned in regards to morality about judgment from others, so much as we're concerned with, again, the effect that the judgment from ourselves and the effect that or the reaction that we have to our actions. So in this sense, morality is concerned with the effect that unwholesome deeds have, the negative effect that unwholesome deeds will have on your mind when you engage in unwholesome speech or unwholesome action or even unwholesome thought. It's something that affects you and takes you away from a centered, objective, clear state of mind, which is what we're trying to create. And the third thing is that morality is not specifically concerned with rules or principles. It's so the first aspect of morality that I'll be talking about today is the rules, but morality as a concept in Buddhism, or the idea of morality in Buddhism, has much more to do with the general state of mind that gives rise to concentration. Morality is considered to be that which focuses the mind, that which leads the mind to become focused and able to see things clearly as they are. But today I'll be talking about specifically that aspect of morality that is the rules or the precepts that we take on to refrain from as Buddhists. And these can be considered kind of like fence posts. So you want to set up a clear boundary for yourself. It's kind of like a fence where outside of that you don't trespass. And the first thing you do when you set up a fence is you put up fence posts. Now the fence posts themselves won't keep anything in or out, but they set a marker. So these are clear indicators or markers of where the boundary exists. So, for example, the basic Buddhist morality of the 5 precepts: not to kill, not to steal, not to cheat, not to lie, and not to take drugs and alcohol. These of course are not a comprehensive or an exhaustive list of things that one shouldn't do. You could never come up with such a list because, again, morality isn't the actions themselves, it's the intentions behind them. But they do make up a list of guidelines that give you some idea of where the boundaries exist for between moral and immoral, or between good for you and bad for you. So the understanding is that things like killing are bad for you. Killing is something that's very unwholesome and detrimental to one's own spiritual well-being. Stealing as well is in the same category. Cheating, in the sense of cheating on a loved one or breaking up someone else's marriage or relationship. Lying, deceiving others, and using intoxicants which cloud the mind, all have the effect of creating states of mind that are antithetical to the meditation practice, to clarity of mind and to purity and to freedom from suffering. They cloud the mind, they create states of lust, states of hatred, and states of fear, states of worry and remorse and guilt and so on. So they're generally considered to be bad. Of course, as I said, this isn't exhaustive, so hurting other people is also unwholesome, but it's not in this list. These are, in one sense, a guide for the extreme, the most extreme immoral states. So anything beyond this, or these are the most extreme that really have to be done away with even before you start to practice. So again, we're dealing with concepts here that are preliminary. Before you begin to practice, you actually do need morality, and at least to the extent of this first aspect of morality, of keeping these precepts. Anyone who's going to begin to cultivate wholesomeness has to be assured of, has to assure themselves that they can keep these 5 precepts. If they're constantly engaging in breaking these precepts, they will be unable ever to cultivate concentration and wisdom. So that's the first step. Now, the next set, once you begin to practice meditation, you want to go a little bit further. So you bring the fence in closer, the boundary in closer, and you would take 8 precepts. So a person who begins to practice, actually actively practice meditation, would it be expected to keep more than just the 5 precepts? So the 3rd precept is not to cheat on others. Well, this changes, and instead of not just cheating on others, we don't engage in sexual or romantic activity at all during the meditation practice, because again, this is something that distracts you from the meditation practice. Now we're not talking about things that in a worldly sense would be considered immoral, but we're talking about things that very much can and will get in the way of your meditation practice, distracting you, creating greater addiction and clinging and so on. And then we add 3 more precepts on top of that we undertake to keep. So the 6th one is we undertake to only eat once a day or during the morning hours. We have enough food during the morning to keep us alive without getting obsessing over food or comforting ourselves with food. Simply having enough just to stay alive, just to stay healthy enough to practice meditation. The 7th one we take is to discard any entertainment or beautification. So we don't engage in, we don't listen to music, we don't sing, we don't dance, we don't watch shows or read fiction or surf the internet, all sorts of things that during a meditation course will distract you from your meditation practice, even though in a worldly sense they're not, strictly speaking, immoral. And we don't beautify ourselves, we give up using makeup and beautiful clothes and trying to make ourselves somehow attractive, which of course distracts ourselves and distracts other people and keeps us tied to this the world of romance and attraction and so on. And the 8th one is we undertake to sleep on a simple bedding, maybe sleeping on the floor or on a rug or something like that, and sleeping a minimum. So we recommend meditators to only sleep 6 hours or less during a meditation course. So here we are bringing the markers in closer. We're still not talking about, strictly speaking, morality, which comes from the meditation practice itself, but by doing away with all of these things, keeping away from all of these activities, we support our meditation and are able to gain greater states of concentration and thereby wisdom. Finally, if you want to take up the life of a meditator, if you want to take up a Buddhist life, you would go one step further and give up all economy or all commerce. So you would refrain from using money, refrain from buying and selling, refrain from trading, even any sort of economic activity whatsoever, and you would live the life of a religious person, a monk. So you would use an alms bowl and receive the food that people give you and so on. And so it starts by adding one more precept of not using money, which are the precepts of a novice monk. And eventually, once you're trained in that, you would begin to take on this whole list of rules which serve to focus the mind, or the meditator's mind, on the practice and keep one away from worldly endeavors and pursuits and distractions. And so there are 227 rules of the bhikkhus, 311 of the bhikkhunis, and then you have hundreds of more. It becomes an endless list of rules where you live a prescribed life that keeps you on the straight and narrow. And so all of these rules, breaking them is not a sign that you're going to go to hell, or that you're going to be unable to meditate, you can always decide to take these again. They're guidelines, they're fence posts. So straying outside of them is going to be to your detriment. Staying inside of them is going to be to your benefit and support for the meditation practice. So this is the first aspect of morality that most people think of when they think of morality is the idea of rules. So there are lots of rules that you can follow, but again, they're only the one aspect of morality. Important, useful, and so a good introduction to the concept of Buddhist morality. Beyond this, there aren't any other rules that we have to keep. You don't have to bow down in this way, or chant in that way, or light incense, or this or that. We have very simple rules that are based on morality and based on how they affect your mind during your meditation practice. So that's the first aspect of morality, another part of our series on Buddhism 101. Tomorrow we'll be talking about the second aspect of morality. Thank you.